Hi, and welcome to the Whaka100 Podcast for 2025. This is Season 4, Episode 1. I'm your host, Richard Greer, and pretty excited to get amongst the Whaka podcast again. This is going to be a three-part series, and our aim is to get you to the start line in the best possible shape so you can get out there and have an awesome day on the trail. So over the next 3 episodes, we're going to focus on the big 3 topics of performance, I'd say. So number 1 is training. That's what today's show is all going to be all about. We're going to talk about nutrition and then mental toughness. So because let's face it, there's part of every race that gets hard, and the thing is that what makes it hard with this type of event is the bit that's so rewarding. Reflecting back on it once you get to the finish line, and once the job's done, beer in hand, and that's what we're all about. But hopefully, as a result of this podcast, we can dial in your training. Hopefully on your bike as well. So you'll go faster, and with your nutrition going well, you'll actually be able to sustain that pace with a bit of luck too, and therefore not be out there for quite so long. So, and also from the mental skills side of things, you'll hopefully have some tricks up your sleeve to manage those dark moments so we can laugh in the face of adversity as it happens, because it always does, and that's all part of it. So let's clip in and get amongst it with our Whaka100 podcast. And I have got Tim Hanson, Team CP Coach, on the line. How are you getting on, Tim?
G'day, Rich. I'm good. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Always good to talk performance, talk training, talk, I guess, sharing some tips and adventures as we go with the Whaka100. And you ride your mountain bike a bit. You've had a crack at the Whaka as well?
I've had a crack, mate. I've just had one crack. It was a couple of years ago now, not last year before, but it's good fun. It's that time of the year, isn't it? What are we, 2 months away? Is that about 2 months away, aren't we?
Yep, that's right. Got a bit of time. There's time enough, I think, to make a difference to your training as we were at the moment.
Yeah, totally. And like you've got a bit of experience with this race yourself, haven't you, mate? Like, what's your experience with this race?
Yeah, done it a few times. I think it's maybe about 6 times, something like that. But pretty much done. I haven't done the kids 5 or the 10, but I've done the 25, the 50, the 100 2 or 3 times, and then the miler as well. So probably my worst performance was in well, not necessarily the worst performance, but the most crashes was in the 50, when I got too excited, pushed send too much, and managed to see a couple of trees that jumped out at me, and then also had a moment that I was going far too fast on a downhill four-wheel drive track, didn't take the corner, up on the bank, and then and then bounced over the other side of the track and head over heels. So, but finished. Yeah. So that's all that matters.
That's the main thing. I think if you get through in a clean run, it's a lucky day, right? So
yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's not bad when you have to straighten your handlebars up, put your helmet on, right. Figure out your derailleur, bend it back sort of manually, and away you go again.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. And like you've said, mate, there's different distances, isn't there? So there's something for everyone. But I guess from a training perspective, like, what does it take to train for something like this?
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. So I guess there's a different challenge for everybody, because people will be using different energy systems. They're going to be going at different speeds. They're going to be out there for maybe just it could be up to 14 hours, but then some people might be getting the 50 done in a couple of hours kind of thing. So so it does vary across the board, but we're going to look at this as it's an endurance ride for most. It's an achievement that I'm going to see if I can. So it's going to take 3, 4 through to, for the 50, 4, 5 hours. It could be the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or potentially even 14 hours if you're trying to get through that whole miler event to see if you can actually finish it. But I guess when we think about it, we want to think about exercise stress. We're thinking training. So the exercise stress is the duration, how long you're out there for, the intensity, and then the specificity. So by that, I mean ride your bike. To get good at riding a bike, you've got to ride your bike. Intensity is actually you need to make sure you're showing your body what it's going to be up against in race day from an intensity perspective. And then also duration, you've got to be actually showing your body some time to get the changes and have that specific stress. And then the other side of it, so exercise stress is one, the other side of it is the recovery piece. So that's where sleep being the most important thing. That's how your body heals and bounces back. Nutrition, having the building blocks available, and the stress of life and busyness and kids and all that sort of stuff. So balancing the stress that breaks your body down and the recovery that builds you back up again. And if we can do that consistently, that's when your body starts adapting to the stimulus that you're putting it forward, and then hopefully we'll get better at riding your bike.
Yeah, nice. And you've touched on the sort of we get so busy, don't we, with work and life, and that consistency thing is really key. What can we do to remain consistent throughout our training blocks?
You're asking some very good questions here, Tim. Yeah, it feels like you've been here and
it's good to be on this side.
Fine up. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, you've probably heard on this podcast before me banging on about my 15-minute rule. 15 minutes on the bike doesn't seem like a lot, but especially on the indoor trainer or when you're commuting and when you're late, you can do a good workout in that short amount of time. So basically what that is get 15 minutes is a minimum amount of time to call a session. So if it was 12 minutes, it doesn't count. Unfortunately on Strava, if you give someone kudos and it's 12 minutes, you actually can't take the kudos away, which have fallen into the trap of sometimes. So that's number one. So make sure it's at least 15 minutes. But the other piece that I've just been talking about a number of people lately is this 3-day rule as part of that as well, that whole piece. So what the 3-day rule is, and this is something maybe for you, Tim, because I haven't shared this with you yet, but 3 days, you can have a day off. Everyone needs a day off. You need a day off to recover, mentally sort of be able to turn up and do it again tomorrow. 2 days off, sometimes you're actually pretty cooked and you need a couple of days off, or life is busy. That's fine. But 3 days off, try and see if you can get away without having 3 days off in a row. Because what happens is you start having 3 days off in a row, your body starts detraining. It needs that specific stress to keep challenging it to get stronger. But if you don't do that, then you start going backwards. So what that means is that actually, if you're really busy and you can train on the weekend, but you think the whole week's gone to custard, if you can do a 15-minute something on Wednesday, you're going to still be able to, that's the 3-day rule is like you tick the box there, don't you? So that's where that consistency comes in, to be able to hopefully keep the ball rolling and then able to kind of keep moving forward with it and keep getting fitter and stronger.
Yeah, nice. And I guess the couple of points that I'd add to that is, if you're sick, you probably want to give yourself the time to recover, right? Like this time of the year is funny. Like I've just been a bit unwell myself. I've had a week off. So, that 3-day rule, you might be able to squeeze it out a little bit more, right? Like just so that you can get back into training when you actually, and just gradually get back into things,
100%. That's exactly right. That's the one thing where the 3-day rule does not count is that if you're sick if you're sick, you've just actually got to rest because you're just going to make yourself worse if you carry on thinking that I need to keep training. So definitely don't want to push there. But just I guess file that one away. And the other one around that whole consistency piece is ideally make it easy. So like an indoor trainer can make it easy because obviously from a darkness perspective, from a weather perspective, you can just get on. There's low barriers to getting on your bike. If you're able to commute in your day, I mean, that's a way to kind of hopefully create time to be able to ride your bike. It doesn't need to be on the trails all the time, but just riding your bike. But ideally make it fun. Get out, enjoy riding your bike and get out there, make it social, get other people to drag you out. And all those little things will help you. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more consistent when you're busy as well.
Yeah, nice. And what I find with that 15-minute rule as well, like sometimes when I'm short on time, I'm like, oh, let's play the 15-minute rule card. You get out there and you're like, oh, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. And next thing I'll do my 15 minutes and you're like, oh, I'll do another 5. Next thing you know, I'll just do the full session. I'll just do the 30 or 45. So it can sort of play in your favor just to get on your bike, can't it?
That's right. But sometimes you haven't got that time, so you just absolutely pin it. And then after 15 minutes and 30 seconds, you come back in the door sweating and a job done, and then you carry on with whatever your day needs to be done.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. That'll make sense, those concepts. So let's look at a typical training week. What are sort of, say, 3 key sessions I should be hitting throughout the week? What should they look like?
Yeah, I guess this is the key crux of it, isn't it? It's all well and good to talking about sort of overall key concepts, which are like, we get that, but how do I actually manage my training? So if we keep it simple, I want you to think about 3 different sessions. So we want to do a long one. So that's the steady ride. It's at the pace that you can hold a conversation, but you're puffing a bit. Any less than that, you're already adapted to that. So you want to be puffing a bit, but not so hard that you're blowing yourself to pieces. So a long one. You want to do a strong one. So that's a bit of strength on the bike. It could be some hills. And then the third one will be a fast one. So those 3 sessions in the week, if you can. So, and then it's a matter of how we actually fit those in.
Yeah, cool. What about testing? Is testing important? And what do we sort of do with that information?
Yeah, that's right. So testing is, I mean, first of all, we've got to say why. Why do we want to do some testing? What are we going to use it for? And then how are we actually going to do it? So, I mean, there's different ways that we can do some testing. So, I mean, Strava is great because it's that naturally occurring evidence of me riding my bike faster over the trails without necessarily getting myself worried or psyched up to do a particular test. So that's a really good way to see some improvement. I mean, Zwift is a good option as well, like to do some testing there to actually see some power numbers, and it's pretty repeatable. Doesn't matter about weather conditions and what the trail's doing so much. Doing a time trial is a good option too, and actually that's more specific to what race day is, ride a climb, and maybe there's a bit of a flat in there with some trails with some zigzagging and tree roots and things, and maybe the other type of testing is like a sub-maximal test, so actually holding a particular power number and seeing what your heart rate's doing at that power number, or holding a particular speed and seeing what your heart rate's doing at that time. So we use a little bit of that within our coaching as well. But I guess the key thing with testing is it is about how am I improving and how am I actually going to use that information. So, I mean, testing right before the event, is that useful for the event, or is it just going to maybe lose confidence if I'm not as good? But also that's really useful because that might give me an idea of where I was for the build up for the next event possibly. So yeah, think about what am I getting out of it, but it's nice to see if your training is working, or if it's not working, why isn't it working? And then let's do something about it if that's the case.
Yeah, cool. Nice. And I guess the last thing for me, and we might be covering it on a different podcast, just around nutrition with riding your bike for such a long amount of time, like that practicality of where I'm going to keep all my stuff and what am I going to use? And I guess training with that, now's a good time to be practicing with that, eh?
Yeah, and that comes back to those sessions as well of what we were doing. So talked about the long one, the strong one, and the fast one. So the long one is really where we want to practice that nutrition. That's where we get on the trails. That's a bit more specific. There's some skills element there. We figure out actually what we want from a nutrition perspective. Can we handle that food? Can we actually manage it one-handed? Can we actually access it through our pockets and stuff like that? So figuring out what gear you're going to use. And then also, okay, well, if you're doing the 100 or the miler, like you've got a couple of stops or a drop bag to pick up, what might be in that? So how do I actually manage that as I go as well? And then also, as you're thinking about that long session, we want to think about building up to what race day and actually simulating that in that long session. But it doesn't have to be longer every day of the week, like actually having some down weeks. And then also, I think one thing I try and encourage and works really well is doing like a training camp session. So putting, like this weekend, I'm going to ride the Paparoa Trail with a couple of friends. We're going to ride over from Blackball to Punakaiki, and next day we're going to ride back. So that's going to be more than what I'm used to, and it's going to be basically all weekend riding a bike. So doing those sorts of things that are more than normal is really good, but you've got to put them on the family calendar so to get the leave pass to go and do those longer sessions as well.
Yep, absolutely. It's a good opportunity to test out your gear as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It might be a bit of testing the old raincoat this weekend potentially on the way home. So we'll see how they go. But then just going back to those other two sessions I talked about, the strong one and the fast one. So that strong one I talked about hills, but I mean, if you don't have hills available, it could be again on Zwift doing it there, but like just thinking about a 10 times 1 minute as a little session. So hard gear, grinding a bit, so cadences between 50 and 70 RPM, and doing that for a minute, and then having a little bit of time to cruise, catch up with yourself, and then going for a minute again. So 10 times 1 minute. And that strength session is not about the cardiovascular system, it's about your pedal technique, and it's about engaging those muscles and actually in the same way that you will when you're racing. And then it's also, as we ride our mountain bike, good for control and good for traction as well as we do that session. So it's a muscular challenge, not a cardiovascular challenge. And so we've got a long session, a strong session. The other way of doing that strong session is actually just lifting some weights. So doing some squats, deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats, etc., step ups. So that's a really good way to actually just get a bit stronger specifically, and probably a really good time efficient session that's going to help you to improve your performance on race day. And then the third session I talked about before was the fast one. So how does that look? That's the one where you're really pushing your body, challenging yourself to go a bit faster, and and how can I deliver oxygen to my muscles? So, I mean, the main limiting factor for fitness is your delivering the oxygen, but it's actually the oxygen getting into the muscle cells themselves. So physiologically, how am I stressing my body's ability to do that? So hard intervals, so like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or actually 30 seconds on, say, or 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, like a 2-to-1 ratio rather than a 1-to-1 ratio, doing some pyramids, but making sure the recovery is reasonably short, so it's hard, up to 1 to 2 to 3 minute efforts. And then so that's one session. The other key session I'd do from a speed perspective is like an anaerobic threshold session. So maybe it's 4, 6, 8, up to 10 minutes long, and I'm holding like a hard zone 4 race pace type zone. And I'm just going to try and sit there and get used to what hard feels like for me. So that would be the other session. And then I do one of those a week. And then as we get closer to the race in the last sort of 4 weeks or so, I'd look to actually put both of those sessions in a week, managing your total training load. So you start to kind of peak, and as you're tapering, you're still pushing, but not having the full volume of that. So think about that in terms of your training: the long one, the strong one, and the fast one, and how am I incorporating that into my training every week?
Nice. Long, strong, fast. How do you incorporate them into your training every week? Easy.
Yeah.
Cool. No, good chat, Rich. Sounds like you've done this one before and you've got a bit of experience. So hopefully we've managed to cover off on all the concepts that we wanted to.
Yeah, you've done well. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Tim. And will you be at the Whaka this year, or is that next year's job?
I was thinking next year's job. I'm not going to be there this year, so I might be out on the road riding for me at this stage. But you never know. It's always in the calendar, right? It's a good one to have in the calendar. So I'll make a return one day.
Yeah, it is a great event, and we just need to make sure the trees don't jump out at you for your 50, eh? Or was it spectators?
It might have been a bit of spectators, I think.
No,
they got a bit too excited. That's right.
Good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Tim, and we'll catch you soon, and keep up the great work.
Oh, good. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, team. Good luck.
Well done, Tim. Cheers. Just like that. So hopefully some training. Hopefully that sort of gives you a bit of an idea. So we've got two more interviews that I'm going to share with you today. We've got Jason from Giant Bikes, and then also Lachie McKnight as well. So I might jump into Lachie's chat, and then we're going to finish up with Jason soon. So we'll over to Lachie. And I'm here with Lachie McKnight. Lachie is lining up for the Whaka100 for this year after having completed it last year. Lachie, welcome to the podcast. How are you getting on?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hey, do you want to kick off with a bit of background? How long have you been riding your bike for? And I guess also as part of that question, what's your experience with the Whaka itself?
Well, I've been pretty much riding a bike since I can walk, really, but I've been racing since about 2018.
Okay.
So I kind of found the Whaka and decided it was a couple of races I want to have a crack at, and kind of continued it ever since, really. So, but you always had a love for riding, and always wanted to have a crack at some of those bigger races. And I do a lot of cross country racing, so it's it's a lot of fun. And I just found that the Whaka was one of those ones that I found quite enjoyable, and been coming back ever since, really. So
nice. That's awesome. So how many times have you done it, and which event? I called it the Whaka because it's not necessarily the Whaka100 for you. You might have done the 50 or the 25 as you're getting underway.
Yeah, I've done. I think it's about maybe 5 or 6 Whakas now. I've done the 25, the 50, and the 100. This will be my 3rd year of the 100 this year. So it's I've kind of done the whole kit and caboodle, really.
Yeah. And I guess they've all got their own place in regards to your development as a rider, as you're building through the ranks effectively. Yeah,
definitely. I found that the 25 was kind of the baby step for me, and then I went to the 50 and kind of found that was borderline, and then I decided to step it up to the 100, and been at the 100 ever since, really.
Yeah, good. So this is your 3rd 100 you're lining up for. How did you go year 1 versus year 2 in the 100?
Year 1 I did a lot better than year 2 because my training wasn't the best leading into it. I was kind of didn't really have the best training leading up to year 2, but year 1 was spot on. I actually ended up doing a 6.5, or just over 6.5 hours, which I was pretty happy with. And then last year I did a 7:11, I think it was.
Okay.
So which is still great, but it wasn't what I was kind of hoping for, really.
Nice. So in this podcast, we want to dial into a bit of that training element of what you do and how you do things. But what was different? You mentioned your training wasn't as good the second time. Was it because I was sick? I was busy? I was or overdone? What was different for you?
It was kind of dealing with pretty much life itself, really, working full time, and it was a little bit harder for me to get out and on the bike and actually train as much as I should have been. But it was still just a matter of just getting out and going on those longer rides kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So more the learning from one to the next is I can't bypass those longer rides. I just need to make sure I hit those. Is that your summary?
Yeah. Just being able just to put a day or two aside and just go, right, I need to dial in and do these 4, 5, 6 hour rides out in the forest kind of thing.
Yeah. Just get used to that and get used to your nutrition and all that sort of stuff. So with that said, from year 1 to year 2 and then coming into year 3, what's your goals for this time round? What do you want to achieve this time?
I would love to do a sub 6.5. For me, that's probably my biggest goal out of it, and just be able to eat a bit better as well, more consistent with the eating, whether it be gels or bars or whatnot, but and just eat more often and force myself to kind of eat kind of thing, and just focus on trying to hit that sub 6.5 goal if I can.
Yeah, nice. And from a pacing perspective, is there something that you've learned there that you look to do in terms of how you pace yourself? Often it's really easy to go out too hot in the first 20, 30 Ks kind of thing in the Whaka, because you definitely 20, 30 Ks at the end of the race is quite a different proposition to the start.
I've found that if I sit with the whole group for the first kind of 10, 20 Ks, and then you start to space out really, and then you just end up riding with people who are about the same ability as you or the same speed as you, and you end up having a couple of good yarns on the long climbs and that during the race. So
Yep. So your job is just to ride with the group and then just see who you kind of paired with, and then kind of match yourself with those people. I mean, people have the ups and downs as the race goes on, but actually just making sure that you, I guess, can talk as you go up the climb towards the back end.
Not so more to have the big conversation. It's more just well done, mate, as you go past and that. And but yeah, even if I make a break for 10 or so K, and then end up joining another group, it's all part of it, really.
Yeah, nice. So tell us about a normal training week for you. I guess with 3 months out as we record this today, what does a normal week look like for you at the moment? And are you working? What else is going on? I guess because that'll change what the answer is.
Yeah. So I'm a full-time farmer and contractor on the side as well. Well, farmer and contractor really, but we balancing the whole work thing as well. I try and do at least a ride a day. It can range from an hour to 2 hours a day really. And it's a bit of everything. It can be easy zone 2 ride on a Tuesday, or it could be a VO2 max ride on a Thursday, and then it kind of each week's a bit different, but I try and balance it so that it's similar each week leading up to the Whaka and just any race in general.
Nice. And that's number one of any foundation of any training plan is consistency, trying to do it on a regular basis and manage your recovery so you know what that's going to be, and obviously around your farming and your other work that you're doing as well. But if you can do that consistently, get on your bike, stay healthy, stack those sessions together, that's the first and most fundamental piece of any training plan. So that's about 3 months out. How does this differ from 2 months out and maybe 1 month to go? Is there anything that changes there?
The workouts definitely get more intense as it comes closer into any race in general. It can be just a lot of quick, snappy, fast stuff, or a lot of longer rides, or just whatever the race is. But leading into the Whaka, it's definitely a mixture of those longer rides and then those short, quick, snappy attacks and whatnot.
Yeah. So ultimately simulating the race is what you're saying, is to make, and you said that right at the start, is to make sure that I do have those key days that I'm going to get out for not necessarily the whole duration, but a similar duration of what I'm going to do on race day, actually getting out and riding my bike and getting used to sitting on my seat for that long and practicing my nutrition, etc.
Yep.
Nice. Do you have an indoor trainer amongst that?
I do. I've got it set up. It's a Wahoo kicker set up on a with Zwift.
Okay. Yep. And how do you use that? Do you use that for most sessions at this time of the year, or is it just for the faster ones, or do you do some racing on it? What happens there for you?
Over the winter, I tend to use it a lot more because it's quite cold and the weather's not the nicest outside. So I tend to use the Zwift more in the winter, but then over the summer, I basically don't really use it in the summer just because it's so nice just to go outside and have a ride, really.
Yep. And whereabouts are you based?
Tamera, which is basically 20 minutes out of Cambridge, but I've got Tamera Mountain Bike Park on my back doorstep.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's good. I just, where did you say it's cold? Or like just trying to get a feel for how cold is it? Do you live in Twizel or Queenstown?
No, not down south. It's only I think it's about 10 degrees or something here at the moment.
Sure. That's still cold enough. It's still cold enough in terms of to ride your bike. And will you continue to use? Will you do any sessions on your indoor trainer leading into race day, or will you kind of actually just do all your fast stuff outside as well?
No, I'll do a mixture of both. If it's a full-on training week, I try and mix and match with the trainer. So Monday might be the trainer, then Tuesday might be outside, and or vice versa. But I try and kind of do a 50-50 split if I can.
Yeah.
So between riding outside and riding on the trainer.
Okay, right. So still quite a lot of trainer work, even into race day. So that 50-50 is still actually quite a lot. But it's quality though, isn't it? There's nowhere to hide. You're either hitting numbers or you're not.
Yeah, that's kind of it. It's just a mixture of both, really.
Yeah, which is good, and means that you can really challenge yourself and know where you're at as well. So, in terms of thinking more along the lines of riding a mountain bike and Whaka100 specific, what time do you spend in the forest? So obviously you live pretty close to Rotorua. Are you riding there once a week? Is it sort of once a fortnight, once a month? What sort of happens from here on in?
I try and get down there as much as I can, but it's normally maybe once or twice every 2 weeks kind of thing. So either a weekend that I've got free, I might spend a Saturday and a Sunday down there, or I might just spend a Saturday or whatnot. But I do try and get down there as much as I can just to prepare myself for the Whaka.
Yeah, and I mean, you've grown up with it. You're riding a bike there actually quite a lot. Do you ever get bored of the trails, or are they constantly adapting, changing? Are you challenging yourself for harder, more crazier trails as well? What happens? How do you feel?
I tend to do a few tracks that I've known and that I've raced on and just ridden on in general. I don't try and push myself to do anything that's too crazy, but I still love the odd jump track and whatnot. But I just try and simulate it to the Whaka. So it's, you've got about 2,000-3,000 meters of climbing. I try and do that. And then about the same in descending as well, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So don't get bored by the sounds of that.
Yeah. No, not getting bored while riding, really.
Yeah. Good. And there is some crazy trails in there as well. Thankfully, Tim has got a bit of an idea about what not to send us on as we do this as well, which is quite useful too. And do you have any tips for people? Like, you're pretty fortunate because you've got the forest pretty close to you on their back doorstep, really. Tips for those that don't get to ride in the forest, or maybe only get 1 or 2 sessions, or might not get any at all. What type of trails, what type of rides should people be doing?
I'd say that just going out for a ride in general, even if it's just a road ride, it's as long as you're on the bike, it all helps. But just getting out, and even if it's for a quick half an hour, or if you're going out for a bloody 6-hour ride, just as long as you're on the bike, that's probably the biggest thing for me, is just being consistent with your training and just having fun, most importantly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Making sure we are having fun. But I mean, that's the thing with the Whaka, is it is technically challenging, isn't it? It's not something that you can just not everybody can. Yeah, as you go through the 25, the 50, the 100. The 100 is longer. It's got more climbing. It's more than double, but it's also technically more challenging as well. So any types of trails, like there's a lot of tree routes in there, isn't there? So but they also talk about the hero dirt as well. Like It does make you feel good. You do go well on it.
Yeah.
You tend to get a bit more grip out of it as well. So like it's single track really at the end of the day, isn't it? Making sure you know how to do some drop-offs and actually pick lines amongst trails as well.
Yeah, that's definitely the single track stuff definitely helps a lot. And just the technical, riding your drop-offs, riding trails in general. Just learning how each trail flows really. It definitely helps to adapt those skills to race day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one tip that I've got for that is often as cross-country riders, we ride a trail, and if we don't do something particularly well or put your foot down, you just kind of push off and carry on. Like I think often we need to actually stop. We need to take our bike. We need to walk back up the trail, give ourselves a bit of a run in, and then ride that section again. Actually have a look at the lines. Where should I have gone to be able to ride that cleaner, and have a couple of goes at it. Ideally, if you're with someone else, sometimes you push yourself a little bit more than if you're just by yourself, but actually have a bit of a play on the trails as well. Do you do that at all with any of your riding?
Yeah, definitely do. I even get a few of my mates to take a few videos, and we rewatch the videos and see if we can improve that line and make it a bit better. But yeah, definitely do that a lot. Just suss out each and every, not each and every track, but just most tracks where I think, here's a good line, or I could take this one, just where the lines are different, and just adjust to whatever line suits you best.
Yeah. And spending a bit of time in the forest, those little moments and lines do add up, don't they? That means that you can be smoother. It's not necessarily faster, but smoother, and save some energy having to get up and over those tricky tree routes because you're taking a dodgy line. So it's interesting. Do you have a key session that you look to try and do on a weekly basis that's just part of Lachie's week, that he will make sure that he does this particular session?
I try and do a longer ride each Saturday. So at the moment, they're set up as about 2 or 3 hours each Saturday, and that can be a mixture of road, gravel, or mountain bike. It's not just whatever of the three I feel like doing. And I tend to do the mountain bike more than anything. But if it's been a bit of a crappy week, I go out on the road bike.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And the beauty of the road bike is it's just more consistent, isn't it? Like the mountain bike's great, but then you've also got you have kind of that time off your legs and your cardiovascular system on the downhill for a lot of it. You're off the pedals. Whereas a road bike or a gravel bike, you're just pedaling the whole time often.
Yeah, the road bike's definitely different compared to the mountain bike, but you can't beat a good old mountain bike ride, But
it's got its place.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What about the downhill? I mean, doing the miler a few years ago, like my upper body was probably more tired than my lower body, to be honest. Do you have any tips around that, around how you manage your body, your upper body, even on the trails and things around the Whaka100?
I tend to try and do a few stretches of my upper body when I can, out like on the flat gravel roads and that. I often try and stretch out and shake out my hands and that, just to let the body be a bit looser and that. So I'm not all tight and everything really. Yeah, nice. Good tips,
because you do just hold that tension in there. And on the downhill as well, as you can relax as much as you can, that does help. Like to be able to still be useful at the end. Do you do any off the bike training? Do you do anything else that's not riding, or is it all? I guess you've got your farming. That's probably your off the bike training.
It's mainly just the farm stuff, really. For me, it's walking up gullies, putting up fences, spraying weeds. The lot of it really. That's kind of the off bike training that I do. Picking up hay as well. That's all the other stuff I do as well.
Perfect. So that's you can't get better than that from a strength training perspective. That's awesome.
So definitely not. It's still, it helps me a lot. Over the summer, I tend to be a lot stronger in that, with all the farm work on top of the riding as well.
Yeah, nice and awesome, Lachie. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It's pretty cool to hear, I guess, your development as a rider and where you've come from, and the Whaka100's kind of nurtured that by the sounds of it over the last few years, and nice to sort of be in a good place to go and really nail it, hopefully, in your build up and then on race day through to Whaka100 2025.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, cool. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the start line.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard.
Well done, Lachie. Thanks heaps.
Thank you. Bye.
So just like that, an up and coming young athlete that's going to go and do great things, I'm sure, on the Whaka100 this year. So I wish Lachie McKnight all the best. Lots of great training going on, and definitely pretty busy on the farm as well. Amongst all that, he's doing very, very well. And to wrap up our podcast today, we're going to talk to Jason from Giant Bikes. So they are back on as a sponsor this year, and we're going to talk to Jason about training, but also preparing, making sure your bike is set. What do you need to do to make sure that you've got your bike set up properly so you can go and have an awesome day out? So let's jump in and have a chat to Jason. Hi, team. We're here with Jason Foster from Giant Bikes. How are you getting on today, Jason?
Good, Richard. How you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good, thanks. Giant Bikes are back on deck with the Whaka100. So you've been a partner of the event before, but back again for 2025. What's the motivation for a start for being back involved with the Whaka100?
Yeah, so we were part of the sponsorship back in 2018, 2019, and had a great run with that. Had to take a little bit of a break during COVID. Get busy selling bicycles during that time. But yeah, we're really excited to join on and be the naming sponsor of the miler. And I think the name and the distance and the challenge kind of go hand in hand. Yeah,
that's awesome. So in your opinion, what makes the Whaka100 such a good event, and why is it an important relationship for Giant Bikes?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I've raced almost all the distances. So I've done the 50, I've done the 100 a couple of times. I did the miler 2 years ago. And I think in terms of what Belinda and Tim and the team at Enduro put on, I think you can see that it's just growing and growing. And I think what we love about it is that it's open up to everybody. So you see such a wide range of riders and racers that compete in it. And I think it just evolves every year, so it's always changing. I think the courses are always mixed up. The challenge gets mixed up, and so I think that's why you see such a big cross section of riders that keep coming back year and year. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to showcase what we bring. We obviously see a lot of people on Giant Bikes out in the forest that are racing and participating, and we love to connect with people who are on the product, and even other people who are riding other brands.
Yeah, that's right. That is the beauty of the event, isn't it? From the 5K kids, the 10K, my whole family got Giant Bikes, from the Fletcher 11-year-old all the way through to a 17-year-old, and then my wife's got an e-bike. So yeah, it's great stuff, and good to be part of that whole community and people out there enjoying riding their bikes through. Just an awesome place to be, awesome place to ride your bike.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of for us here in New Zealand, it's kind of our home base. I live in Rotorua part-time, so I'm there every weekend riding, and it's a fantastic place to ride.
Yeah, good stuff. So I want to also talk a bit about, I guess, bike setup and sort of what do people want to or should be thinking about in terms of making sure that their bike is good to go for race day. So for a start, what would you say the perfect bike for Whaka looks like? So obviously it depends on the rider and their goals, but if you're looking to do a PB in the race, what would that be and why?
Yeah, I think it's broken down into which course you're riding. So on the 50K course, for example, you've got a few different options. You can ride a hardtail because it's still a shorter event. Something like that, you obviously have a lighter setup that's stiffer and a little more efficient for climbing. So you can handle the extra bumps and the bit of the abuse that comes along with sort of a 2 to 4 hour race time. That's when you need to look at the most efficient full suspension setup. So for us, for example, that would be the Giant Anthem. And so that runs roughly about 100 to 110 mils of travel, depending on the setup you're running. But I think that the beauty of that setup is that you can handle the technical descents and the technical riding, and it doesn't beat the body up.
Yes.
So after 8 to 14 hours, depending on which course you're riding, you're still able to survive that last sort of 15, 20 Ks without being completely abused.
That's right. And it is about, like, you talk about suspension, but it's also about getting that set up properly for you as well, isn't it? And brakes and just bike setup, seat height, all that sort of stuff. Like, because as you say, if you're out there from 6, 8, 14 hours, you are going to know about it. You can get away with bikes not being fully set up properly sort of in a shorter distance, but once you're out there for hours and hours and hours, that's when it starts becoming more real, and then you actually end up wiggling around in your seat, focusing on where you're sore opposed to actually what the course is throwing at you.
Yeah, I mean, it's even just, rule number 1 is get your bike serviced well before the event. Make sure the drivetrain's fresh, make sure the brakes are good, make sure the tires are good, and make sure that there's no annoying squeaks. That same rub or that same clink, it'll absolutely drive you mad.
Yes, that is great advice. Actually, I've tried to get that across in every Whaka podcast we do. The main reason that people don't finish is that their bike breaks. And the main reason it breaks is because they haven't had it serviced properly beforehand. So get your bike organised before you go. But I think that's a great piece of advice on that annoying squeak, because that just drives you insane. And other people don't really care. You don't mind about someone else's bike squeaking, but you do feel self-conscious that you're annoying other people while you're out there.
I've been around a lot of squeaks, and I've squeaked myself. And I think it's motivation if you're around a squeaker to start pedaling faster.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's good. So if you're giving advice to a first timer about, I guess, their bike, could you define 3 key things that you'd like them to have in their Whaka100 mountain bike?
I think probably the most important is tire choice.
Okay.
There's a lot of different brands out there that offer a variety of different tread patterns and weights and that sort of thing. But I think picking a fast rolling tire that has a little bit of bite, I think we're pretty fortunate that time of the year that, you might get a little bit of mud, but most of the trails stay pretty dry, even if it's rained before. Last year was a good example of that. You don't want to go for a tire that's too aggressive. So over that 50, 100, 170 Ks, having a tire that rolls really fast is going to be the absolute key of being as efficient as possible.
Yeah, and tire pressure is a part of that picture as well, isn't it?
Yep. So, I think most people are pretty clued into that now, but in the past, you'd get a lot of people overinflating the tires, which, ironically makes you go slower, both on the downs and the ups, over a bumpy course. Getting that dialed in. Luckily we don't have too many rocks on that course, so you don't need to worry about, pinch flatting, puncturing. It's pretty rare. So you can run a lower tire pressure, which tends to be more efficient, more comfortable, more grip. So getting that dialed in well before the race and knowing exactly what your numbers are, and is pretty key.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so tires is number 1 that you'd encourage someone to get sorted. What would be number 2 for you?
Yeah. So number 2 is suspension setup. So making sure that you have the sag and your suspension settings dialed in, so you're not going too firm. I see it all the time, especially with cross-country setups. People like to run a firm setting because I think it's faster. And all you're doing is just bouncing over everything instead of, rolling over everything. So getting that dialed in. So tires and suspension, I think, are absolutely 100%, and they're easy to do. You just need to know someone, or consult the tech guides and get it dialed in, and you can feel the difference once you set it up.
Perfect. Okay, right. So suspension, tires, and what's number 3 for you on your bike?
So number 3 is really just the bike fit and the bike setup. So making sure your handlebars are in the right spot, making sure you have the right stem length so you got the proper reach, and then saddle height, saddle fore and aft. Millimeters will make the difference on that one. And so that, again, is just, throughout the course of training, making sure that's dialed in, making sure you mark where your saddle height is, making sure your cleats are in the right spot so you don't get those niggly knee pains that will present itself 80 Ks into the race.
Yep. Yeah. Good. So it's kind of the big 3. I think you've done very well there with tires. You've talked about suspension and then just bike setup. Like, I think if you do those 3 things and get those dialed in, that's absolutely awesome. What about some of those other fun things around lockout for suspension, dropper posts? That just makes your day a bit better, doesn't it? Like, be able to get through the course that little bit easier.
Yeah. Right behind me, I have Fox's new twin stick, which is a combo dropper and lockout lever. So it takes lots of different levers and combines them into one nifty little setup. So in the years past, just to have a cleaner setup, I've run no lockout front and rear. And this year I've now sort of gone back to the lockout. So because I think there's a lot of areas and a lot of climbs where it makes a big difference to have the suspension completely locked out. And just save those extra seconds, which add up to minutes. And and then I would say second to that would be having a good dropper post. The course itself is unlike, I think, a lot of cross country race courses, but it's also similar to what you see now in the World Cup circuit, where the descents are like proper enduro descents. And in Whaka, we go down the same trails that we would have raced in the 2Dub or now the Legends Enduro Series. And so making sure that the bike can still handle really technical grade 4 descents. I think a dropper on everything is a must.
Yeah, good stuff. That's awesome. So, Jason Foster, the miler, 100K, 50K, 25. What are you lining up for this year?
So I'm attempting the miler again. So I did it 2 years ago. I haven't raced this new course, and to be honest, quite fearful of it.
Well, I raced it a couple of, I think the first time it was out, and I was fearful just because I don't think it had been done before. But that time we had, I don't know, it was like at least 25 Ks rolling from the middle of town, bit easy. Let's just get some Ks done. I was pretty happy with that, to be honest. But now it's just another step more honest again, because there's none of that, is there? There's no easy Ks really. You're going to be
And this is what Tim and I have always talked about, is that with a challenge like that, it's important to keep making it harder and harder. I always joke, it's reminiscent of the Barkley marathons over in the States, where if too many people finish it, you need to make it harder and ramp that challenge up. But I've actually got the original miler course on the wall here. So every day I come into work, I stare at that and think about how far I have to go.
So so this is your second time. Did you finish the first time?
Yeah, I finished the original course. And same thing, rolled from town. It was a nice, easy warm up. So I know how much harder it's going to be straight in the forest an hour early, and more riding in the dark, and just a longer day with more climbing and more intensity.
Okay, I'm excited for you. That's awesome. So to get ready for that, could you describe your favorite training session? I guess it's your pre-event training session. So let's think we're, I don't know, 2-3 weeks out kind of thing. What are you going to be doing? What does a key session look like for you?
Yeah, so leading up to it, so like in July, I make sure, and I did this a couple of weeks ago, I make sure that I race or train the Whaka100 course. So I make sure that I can do that in training, and I can climb 3,000 meters, and I can ride for 100 Ks and still feel like I've got more in the tank. So I tick that one off. But then leading up to the race, I'll ride probably 75-80% of the course a few weeks out. And so that way I'm familiar with the trails back to back. I'm familiar with how the body feels. And then on the day, it's kind of like just repeating what you've done in training. So there's no surprises. Yeah,
and that's fantastic advice. It's about simulating what the day's going to be about. That's what all your training is, really. So then you've got a pretty good handle on what you're going to do, and then also you've hopefully figured out a few of those glitches in the system of nutrition or pacing or where that tricky trail is as well. And the beauty of what you're doing is that'll all be actually on the course rather than trying to make it up from somewhere else. So that's pretty exciting as well.
Same thing with the start time. So you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning on that Saturday and get on the bike at 4 o'clock and make sure that you know how difficult it's going to be eating breakfast at 3:30 in the morning and then straight on.
Yeah, that's a miserable breakfast, that one. But we'll save that breakfast chat for our nutrition podcast shortly. But hey, thank you so much for joining us, Jason. It's good to chat as always, and all the best for your build up over the next few months, and looking forward to hopefully cheering across that finish line come October.
Fantastic, eh? Thanks for chatting.
Good job. Well done, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks.
And just like that, the Whaka100 2025 episode 1 is in the can. We had some great guests. Thanks for joining us today. And as we talked about today, we talked about those VO2 max sessions, those harder ones, the consistent ones, getting on Zwift. I do run 3 group Zwift sessions a week, and we'll be running those across in the build up to Whaka. So if that sounds something that you want to get involved in our community, feel free to reach out, and it'll be fun to ride with you and help you with your build up to the Whaka100. But all the best. Enjoy riding a bike. Give it heaps on the downhill. Have some fun on the uphill, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon. Cheers, team. Over and out from Team CPNZ.